We are rebooking you on a later flight. Economy class. Tiffany met someone. A charming young man named Marco. They really hit it off. And she wants him to fly back with us. He needs your seat. My mother. Marilyn. I said this without looking at me. Her eyes scanning the departure board at Rome Fiumicino Airport. I stood there. My grip tightening on my suitcase handle. It was 90 degrees. The air thick and humid. And my family was canceling my business class ticket, the one I had paid for to give it to a stranger my sister met 2 days ago. Mom. I paid for this trip, I said. My voice low. Every flight. Every hotel. Every meal. That ticket is in my name. Marilyn finally turned to me. Her expression one of mild annoyance. Like I was being unreasonable about a dinner reservation. Don't be selfish. Gabrielle. Tiffany rarely connects with anyone. This Marco could be the one. You can figure something out. You always do. She reached out and plucked my wallet from my hand. I'll hold on to this for safekeeping. You're too flustered right now. Before I could react, she turned and walked toward security with Tiffany and a man I had never seen before, laughing as if I didn't exist. They left me there. No ticket. No money. No passport. Just the echo of their laughter and the realization that my value to them ended the moment I stopped being convenient. Before I tell you exactly how I made them pay for leaving me stranded with $0 in my pocket, tell me in the comments, what is the most unforgivable thing a family member has ever done to you? I'm reading every single story. I didn't chase them. I didn't scream or make a scene that would end up on someone's TikTok feed. I simply stood there, surrounded by the chaotic noise of summer travel, and looked down at my wrist. My watch was a vintage piece I had bought for myself 3 years ago when I landed my first director-level promotion. It was worth roughly $5,000. Enough for a last-minute economy ticket and a hotel room. If I could find a pawn shop or a buyer before the terminal closed. My mind wasn't processing grief. It was running a balance sheet. I was calculating the depreciation of my assets versus the cost of my survival. That's what you do when the people who are supposed to protect you decide you are expendable. Most people would be crying right now, a voice said from my left. I turned. The man standing there was impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than my entire vacation budget. He was holding a high-tech tablet and looking at me with cool detachment. I'm not most people, I replied, my voice steady. And crying doesn't print boarding passes. He stepped closer. Not invading my space, but entering my orbit. No, it doesn't. I'm Julian, and I have a proposition that will get you out of this airport and back to the States in luxury, provided you are as pragmatic as you appear. He outlined the deal in 30 seconds flat. He needed a fiancé. Not for romance, but for optics. A hostile board of directors was trying to oust him, citing his bachelor status as instability in a family values-focused tech conglomerate. He needed someone sharp, presentable, and emotionally disciplined to play the role of the stabilizing influence for 1 year. In exchange, $500,000 and full access to his resources. I should have been terrified. I should have been insulted. But as I looked at him, all I could hear was my mother's voice echoing in my head, explaining why she had just gutted me. It wasn't malice. Not in her eyes. It was something far more insidious. It was the trap of normalization. For 29 years, my family had operated on a single, toxic frequency. Tiffany was the fragile porcelain doll who needed to be protected at all costs. And I was the steel vault built to endure the blows. Because I was competent. Because I always figured it out. They felt justified in breaking me. In their twisted logic. Hurting me wasn't cruelty. It was a compliment. They told themselves. Gabrielle can handle it. Gabrielle doesn't need the seat. Gabrielle is strong. They had weaponized my resilience against me, turning my ability to survive into their permission to abuse. That realization hit me harder than the heat. I was done being strong for them. I was done being the insurance policy for Tiffany's incompetence. If I was going to be transactional, if I was going to be used for my utility, I was going to get paid market value for it. I looked Julian in the eye. I have conditions, I said. I don't just want the money. I know my parents. They didn't just leave me here to save a ticket. They took my wallet because they're hiding something financial. I need access to your legal team. Forensic accountants. The best you have. I want to know exactly what they've been doing with the family accounts while I was busy being the good daughter. Julian didn't blink. He didn't ask for details or offer sympathy. He simply nodded, recognizing a fellow shark when he saw one. Done, he said. He extended his hand. I took it. His grip was cool and firm. There was no spark of romance. Just the solid weight of an agreement that would change everything. I wasn't being rescued. I was being armed. And as we walked toward the private terminal, leaving the chaos of the public departures behind, I felt the first stirrings of something cold and powerful waking up inside me. They thought they had stranded a victim. They had no idea they had just created an enemy. The flight back was a study in contrasts. Outside the window, the world was dark and chaotic. But inside Julian's jet, everything was calibrated for absolute control. The air was cool. The hum of the engines was a white noise that drowned out panic. And the champagne was cold. I didn't drink it. I needed my head clear. While Julian reviewed contracts on the other side of the cabin, I sat in silence, staring at the clouds and dissecting the last 29 years of my life. I wasn't grieving the loss of my family anymore. I was grieving the time I had wasted trying to buy their love with compliance. We landed in Seattle just as the sun was breaking over the skyline. Julian's car was waiting on the tarmac. A sleek black Phantom that screamed power. As I turned my phone back on, the device vibrated in my hand. A physical reminder of the tether I hadn't quite severed yet. A text from Tiffany. Are you back yet? Hope you're not still sulking. It's not a good look. By the way, Marco loves seafood. So, make sure you pick up some good wine on your way home. Mom and Dad say you should be grateful. We gave you a real lesson in independence back there. You're welcome. I stared at the screen. No apology. No concern for how I, a woman with no money and no passport, had managed to cross the Atlantic. Just a demand, and a twisted rewriting of history where their cruelty was actually a favor. They honestly believed they had done me a kindness by abandoning me. It was breathtaking in its delusion. Then the call came. Marilyn. I let it ring twice, composing my voice, stripping it of any tremor or warmth. Hello. Mother. Gabrielle. Finally. She snapped. Her tone clipped and impatient. There was no relief in her voice. Only annoyance that I had been unavailable. I assume you made it back. You always land on your feet. Listen. We need you at the house this weekend. We're throwing a welcome gala for Marco. He's going to be part of the family. And we need to make a good impression. A gala. I repeated, my eyes meeting Julian's across the car. He was watching me. His expression unreadable but attentive. Yes. A gala. Saturday night. We need you to handle the catering coordination. The staffing agency is demanding a deposit I don't have time to transfer. So, just put it on your card and we'll settle up later. And bring that vintage tablecloth you have. The one grandmother left you. It matches Marco's eyes. She paused, waiting for my usual submission, waiting for the sigh, the hesitation, and then the inevitable, okay. Mom. Also, she added, her voice dropping to that conspiratorial whisper she used when she was asking for money. There are a few outstanding bills from the Italy trip. The hotel charged us for the minibar, and some spa treatments Tiffany forgot to mention. About $4,000. Since the reservation was under your name. They're emailing you. Just handle it. Would you? We don't want Marco thinking we have debt. It was a masterclass in audacity. They wanted me to serve the man who took my seat. They wanted me to pay for the celebration of my own replacement. And they wanted me to do it while smiling. Grateful for the privilege of being included in their tableau. In the past, I would have argued. I would have cried about fairness. Today, I felt nothing but the cold click of a lock sliding into place. I'll be there, I said. Send me the details. Good, she said. Dismissive as ever. Don't be late. And fix your attitude before you come. Nobody likes a martyr." She hung up. I lowered the phone and looked at Julian. "They want me to cater a party for the man they replaced me with, and they want me to pay for it." Julian raised an eyebrow. "Are you going to?" "I'm going," I said, a dark satisfaction settling in my chest. "But I'm not going to serve. I'm going to collect." This wasn't a family gathering anymore. It was a crime scene. And I was the lead investigator coming to gather the final pieces of evidence before making the arrest. They wanted a perfect party. I would give them one they would never forget. The week leading up to the gala was a masterclass in deception. I didn't block my mother's number. I didn't scream at Tiffany. I answered their texts with monosyllabic compliance, confirming the catering count, agreeing to the color scheme for the napkins, and promising to arrive early to manage the staff. I let them believe the dynamic hadn't changed. I let them think I was still the dutiful, desperate daughter scrambling to buy their affection. But while they were picking out floral arrangements, I was sitting in a glass-walled conference room 40 floors above Seattle, looking at the autopsy of my financial life. Julian's forensic accountant, a woman named Elena who looked like she could find a missing penny in a burning building, slid a heavy binder across the table. "It wasn't hard to find," she said, her voice dry. "They weren't even careful. They assumed you'd never look." She flipped the binder open to a tab marked Inheritance. "Your grandmother left a substantial trust. Not just a few $1,000s. We're talking nearly $700,000 in a UTMA account, Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. Your parents were the custodians." I stared at the numbers. $700,000. Enough for college. A house. A life. "Where is it?" I asked, though I already felt the answer settling in my gut, like lead. "Gone," Elena said. "Systematically drained, starting the year you turned 12. But here's the interesting part. They didn't spend it on your education or medical bills. They used it for a down payment. Specifically, the down payment and subsequent mortgage payments on the Mercer Island estate." The room went silent. The house, the sprawling, waterfront mansion, they lorded over me. The house where I wasn't allowed to touch the thermostat. The house they claimed was the fruit of their blood, sweat, and tears. It wasn't their house. It was mine. Every brick, every beam, every manicured hedge had been paid for with the money my grandmother meant for my future. They hadn't just stolen from me. They had forced me to worship the monument of their theft. "Tracing of funds," Julian said from the head of the table. He didn't look angry. He looked satisfied, like a hunter who just spotted the kill shot. "In Washington state, if custodians use UTMA funds for their own benefit, the asset purchased can be claimed by the beneficiary. That house isn't just evidence. Gabrielle, ideally, legally, it's yours." I closed the binder. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The last trace of guilt I felt about ruining their party evaporated. They had stolen my past. I was about to repossess their future. "Do we file the lawsuit now?" I asked. "No," Julian said, standing up. "We wait for the gala. We let them toast their success. We let them brag to every important person in Seattle about their beautiful home. And then, when they are at the absolute height of their arrogance, we hand them the eviction notice." Saturday night arrived, wrapped in fog and expensive perfume. I didn't go to the service entrance as Marilyn had instructed. I arrived in Julian's Phantom, pulling right up to the valet stand. I wasn't wearing the sensible black pantsuit I usually wore to help out. I was wearing a floor-length emerald gown that cost more than my parents' car, with Julian's diamonds dripping from my ears. When I stepped out of the car, the silence was instantaneous. I saw my mother first. She was standing by the fountain, holding a glass of champagne, her mouth falling open in a way that was almost comical. Tiffany was next to her, clutching Marco's arm, her eyes darting from my dress to Julian, narrowing with instant, venomous jealousy. They expected a servant. They got a queen. I walked up the steps with Julian's hand steady at my back. Marilyn rushed toward us, panicked. "Gabrielle, what are you wearing and who is this?" I smiled coldly. "Mother, This is Julian, my fiancé. Her face drained. Tiffany nearly choked. For the first time in 29 years, I didn't explain or apologize. I walked past them, knowing the match was already lit. An hour into the gala, champagne flowed, the house glowing under the Mercer Island sunset. Marilyn took the terrace steps and began her familiar speech about sacrifice, legacy, and how she and my father built this home with blood and sweat. The crowd applauded. Tiffany played her part perfectly. Actually, I said calmly, lifting the microphone. Now is the perfect time. The screen behind us lit up not with family photos, but with bank records. I explained the trust my grandmother had set up for me, the fiduciary duty my parents violated, and the $680,000 transferred from my account on the exact day they bought the house. My father shouted that it was for the family. You used my inheritance to buy your dream, I replied. And under Washington law, that makes this house mine. The final slide appeared, a court filing. Quiet title. Lis Pendens. Filed that morning. This isn't your legacy, I said. It's stolen property. The silence shattered into outrage. My parents screamed. Guests backed away. Julian calmly informed them they had 30 minutes to vacate. Locks would change at midnight. Then, Tiffany struck back, playing a recording of me discussing a 1-year contractual marriage. The crowd wavered until Julian revealed her text demanding $5 million to keep it quiet. Timestamped. Already sent to the district attorney. Extortion. I looked at my family, no longer powerful, just exposed. This house was never yours, I said. It was evidence. Security escorted them out. 6 months later, Julian and I dissolved our marriage professionally and cleanly, assets divided. Objectives met. He secured his board seat. I gained freedom and capital. We're no longer spouses, but formidable allies. My parents now rent a 1-bedroom. Tiffany faces prison. Their letters go unread. I used to think my worth was endurance. I was wrong. My value is walking away. Family isn't blood. It's respect. And sometimes, survival means letting the house burn.